Welcome to Speakernomics, the official podcast of the National Speakers Association. Created by speakers for speakers. It's your fast track to sharper skills, bigger impact, and a smarter speaking business. Subscribe and download using the link below. And step into the spotlight.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Speakernomics, the National Speakers Association podcast designed to help speakers elevate excellence, share expertise, and challenge one another to improve. In other words, to thrive and influence. Where have I heard those words before? Well, I'm Anne Bonney, CSP, one of the rotating hosts of Speakernomics, and every time I say that, I want to spin around in my chair. And I'm thrilled to welcome this week's guest, Cassandra Worthy, to the show. You probably know Cassandra, her million-watt smile, her infectious energy, and if I may say so, her fantastic hair. But you may not know that her journey to the stage, as she's going to share with us today, started early in her career. And she found herself at a turning point in her life where she saw herself in a moment of opportunity. I think a lot of us had been at that pivotal moment. And in that pivotal moment, Cassandra, through her own coping strategies, started cultivating a teachable framework that could inspire anyone to actually become enthusiastic about change. So now she helps organizations disrupt change as usual and shows them how they can transform their culture from surviving change to growing through it. And she is one of our main stage speakers at Influence this summer in Austin. So I am thrilled to get to interview Cassandra today, chat a little bit about how she got to the stage and what she's going to talk about in July. Cassandra, thank you so much for being here.
What it do? I'm so grateful. What up, NSAers? I'm so excited. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. What it do?
Yeah, you get to get up on that main stage. Now, you've been a member of NSA for a while. You really value NSA, right? I mean, this is your people.
This is huge for me. When I got the call, when I got the message inviting me onto the main stage, I fell over, for real. I've been a member since 2018. I was welcomed into NSA. This was a very, very early part of my journey, learning about what speaking was all about, the importance of, all the things that go into making speaking as a business, as a career. I learned really from NSA. So to be welcomed onto the main stage when I've seen powerhouses, all the big ones, all the big guys, Simon Bailey and Phil and Phil Jones, all the big names. And now to be welcomed onto that stage, it's it's incredible. It's incredible. So it means the world to me. NSA has been a part of my journey for many years, and to be able to give back in this way, it's tremendous for me. It means the world. It means the world.
Well, we're all excited to see you up there. How did you end up on stage? Tell us just a little bit about your journey to get to this place.
Yeah, so I grew up in corporate. I learned how to be a leader in corporate America. My background's in chemical engineering. I spent 15 years working in corporate, all in consumer packaged goods. A lot of that was at Procter & Gamble. I went through major acquisitions, multi-billion-dollar acquisitions, two major ones. The second one, I was also stepping into sobriety. And so that was probably one of the most difficult ones. And so for the first time, I was going through really major professional change while not being able to numb out my emotions with booze and with drugs. And so I was feeling all of this incredible emotion, this fear, this anxiety, this change where I was being acquired. I was leaving this company, Procter & Gamble, that I thought I was going to retire with, going to this new organization. It was Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett. I didn't think that I would ever leave P&G. And I had to navigate this in full sobriety. And it was then that I was practicing. I didn't know I would call it change enthusiasm at the time, but I was practicing this mindset to get myself through this change. And it was through this time where I was learning and I was growing and I was showing my organization how to harness the power of their own emotion, how to see the opportunity that all this change was presenting, that this whisper that I had always had in my career, that Cassandra, there's something different that you're meant to be doing. There's something different to share these gifts that you have with the world to be doing than leading innovation in corporate. This whisper had become a shout in my sobriety. And I started following that shout. Well, what could it be? And I found myself back at Procter & Gamble. I was invited to come back onto a stage sharing this thing that I had now coined change enthusiasm. And I was lit up. I was on fire, feeling this energy, this gift that I feel like I've been divinely given, my energy, my enthusiasm, feeling that flow through me, talking about this thing that I've been practicing for years to get myself through change. Sharing that with leaders in corporate and seeing that same enthusiasm spring out of their faces and from their bodies, and it was magical for me. And I knew this is it. This is what I'm meant to do. And after giving that keynote, about 6 weeks later is when I left corporate as I had known it. And I was kind of off to the races. So I left corporate back in 2019. And I had been a member of NSA since January of 2018. So I've been kind of building and growing and figuring things out for about a year and a half while still doing my corporate life. So it was kind of a side gig for a bit until it was like, yo, I got more booked engagements than I have vacation days. So it's time. My next step, as I've been taking these steps for a year and a half, my next step is leaving,
Off the cliff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that'll resonate with so many speakers, especially in early stage where you're like, when is that moment? But you just kind of know the moment, right?
Yes.
Where you're like, I'm turning down gigs to do the thing I'd rather not do. And okay.
Yes, it was time. Yeah. It was time. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's exciting. Very, very exciting. And so as you got this call, and I don't know about you, but there are moments in my speaking career, the holy crap moments where you're like, oh, this is happening. Oh my gosh. And I'm sure when you got the call from Candace or whoever called you to be on the main stage at Influence, I'm sure it was one of those moments where you're like, who me? What?
Yep.
Oh, I'm there. Tell us about that moment.
It was an unbelievable kind of thing. Like, for real, the main stage, me, and then it was a matter of, what am I going to say? What am I going to talk about? And I'm still kind of somewhat in that stage, I do have an understanding of the value that I want to bring, because anytime that I'm in front of my peers, and that's what this is. This is a community of rock stars. This is a community of individuals. All of you listening have decided to take the reins of your life and to share your own gifts, to share a message that you feel the world needs to hear. So when I'm in that space, for me, it's about giving value. And so it's understanding what is the most value that I can bring. And so I'm focused on bringing the biggest lessons that I've learned over these past several years as I've been navigating my own speaking career to that stage. And so the immediate feeling was one of shock, one of overwhelm, one of tremendous gratitude. It was a tremendous feeling of awe, which is a beautiful feeling and one that I strive to receive every day. So it was a feeling of awe, which I was grateful for. And then it was, okay, let's think about what is the value that I'm going to bring my peers. What is the value that I'm going to bring to you all? And that's what I've been focused on as I'm getting ready for the day. Yeah.
I love it. So what is the value? What's the topic that you've decided to bring to us?
Yeah, I've found that as I've been navigating the career, as I've seen, and I'm so grateful for the success that I've enjoyed, I think what has brought me that success is the fact that I created this mindset as a framework. I made it incredibly practical. And I think it's because of my engineering mind, right? I'm talking about emotions. I'm talking about something that has historically been considered woo-woo and considered soft, and you leave it at the door of business. Don't talk to me about feelings. But because I have such a pragmatic, structured kind of way of thinking, I knew I had to put this in a very framed way, because I personally was practicing it, right, for myself as a leader. I taught it to my sister, who was also an engineer, and I had to put it in a way that she needed to get it. And so I framed things out in a way where you can make it work for you. And so I think the reason that I saw the success that I did is because it is a stepped framework. It's a framework that individuals can take, can digest, and immediately put it into practice. And so what I want to bring to the stage is how you go about putting your message, packaging it within a framing that your audience members can immediately take, apply, and put to work. And I'm finding today more and more clients are wanting something that is not only inspiring, that not only moves, that not only brings a lot of great energy, but that is immediately applicable, that is immediately tangible and practical. They're not looking for something that is just about setting a keynote of their conference, but they want something that lives on. You know, I so often, when I first hit the stage, I tell people that this is not about a one and done. This is meant to be a catalyst. This is to catalyze momentum, right? This is going to be something that will be very tangible, and it's going to take action from you in order to do it. But the only way that that's possible is because I'm giving them a framework. I'm giving them something that's very tangible. And so I want to teach all of you how to do that.
I love that. Well, and I think that's so important, not only for a usability standpoint, is like, okay, do this, do this, do this, but for a memorability. If I'm going to remember what you said, right? How many speakers do we see that the whole time you're like, oh, this is so great. And then you leave and you're like, wait a minute, what did they say? Like, I don't remember any of it.
Yeah. And this is about setting yourself apart. You talk about trademarking, you talk about carving out a niche. That's your frameworks help you get born into all of that, right? And so I'm going to try to distill something down I'm going to create a framework for building frameworks. That's what I put on myself to create for all of you. And I hope that I'm successful.
A meeting about a meeting. No, and I think that's such an, right? I think that's such an important piece, again, when we're trying to actually make a difference. And I think this is something, as our evolving speaking the industry, this is a really important piece. And as speakers are moving into their own change enthusiasm, I think oftentimes we get blinded because we're in this personal development space. We think, oh, I'm good all the time. But I think this what you and I were talking about prior to the episode about becoming a partner rather than just a performer. So talk a little bit about what you're seeing out there.
I am seeing in the market that clients are looking for value. They want so much more than someone who is coming in just to set the tone, set a note for their conference. Granted, there are some conference planners who only want, look, I need the person who is going to hit strong right before lunch. I need somebody who is going to close this thing with the big bang, and that's it. But I think more times than most, 9 times out of 10, they're looking for a partner. They're looking for someone who will come in and set a message, be that catalyst, but then they're looking for ways for them to set more and more momentum. Maybe come back and have a couple touch points with them 6 months later, 12 months later, check in. How are things going? How is the language taking hold across the organization? Leave with them some worksheets, some exercises to put into play. Go deep and wide across the organization. How can you add value so you're doing so much more than just delivering a 45, 60-minute message? How can you add in complementary diagnostics, some surveys, some little videos that you can bring, video series, e-learnings? What are some add-ons that you can do, whether they're complementary or some little low-cost things, so that you become that partner? Think about a keynote not just as one paycheck, but as a relationship. And that relationship ultimately is going to yield multiple paychecks. Trust me. Yeah. And that's what clients are looking for. Okay. That's what they're looking for. Yeah.
Well, and because budgets are tight these days, they need to squeeze as much value out of the money as they can.
Yeah.
And as I hear so many speakers like, I'm going to raise my fee. I'm like, are you raising the value? Are you making sure you're giving them that lasting value, which I think you're right. The framework aspect can really help them get there.
Huge. Yeah. So important.
That's awesome. It's going to be great. And so how do you, when you think about preparing for a big stage, and big stage from influence standpoint this is a bunch of our peers. I'd rather talk to, angry, hungry first graders than a bunch of my peers. It's like, it's awkward, right? Because you're like, oh, wow, they know what I'm doing up here. So as you think about stepping on a big stage, maybe it's the biggest audience you've ever had. Maybe it's a really important client that you really want to do well for. Maybe it's influence, whatever. What are some of the things you do to get yourself ready to get up on that stage and just nail it? And these are the internal things you do. I'm always curious about what people's process is.
I always revisit, what is it that I want these attendees leaving with? Right. So I think about that individual who's sitting in the audience when they're getting up and leaving. How do I want them feeling? What do I want them leaving with? So I revisit that. And then I always just remember, go out there and be you. Go out there and be you. Make sure that you are living in your highest vibration, and that you are living in your purpose, right? This is something that your intuition guided you into. This is something that you get to do. I get to do this work. And I will tell you, standing on a stage is the most fun that I have in my work, because I have now built this business and I have a whole organization around the world. There's a lot of other things that I do now, but of all those things, standing on a stage and delivering a message, especially when it's to my peers, is my favorite thing. And so I'm gonna have some fun with it.
She just got a little sparkle in her eye when she said that. So I can't wait.
Don't tell him. Yes. Yeah, it's the most fun. I feel like this is what I'm meant to do. I'm doing what I think I was born to do. And that's exciting for me. It's exciting for me. Yeah.
And that's two of the strategies that I use too. I call that shifting the spotlight. When I'm all nervous and I'm like, I hope I don't mess up, I just shift the spotlight to them. What do I want them to get? What can I bring to them? And then the way I put it, you're like, just go be me. I say, well, somebody thought this was a good idea. I've done this before really well, and somebody thought this was a good idea. So let's just go out and prove them right.
There you go. It's always a good idea when you're hitting the stage. Let me tell you.
Right?
Yes. Yeah.
Move it along.
Yeah.
One more question for you.
Sure.
Newer speakers, a lot of people come into influence. This might be their first influence. They're trying to get this speaking business off the ground. What do you wish you'd known in 2019 when you walked out of your corporate job and launched yourself into this terrifying journey we call entrepreneurship?
Yeah. I think I was striving to just connect with as many people as I could. And I didn't really care where they were speaking, what their niche was. I wish I had known to more so focus on where the folks speaking kind of in your lane and where the folks that are not necessarily right at your level, but where you want to go next, right? So being a little bit more strategic with my networking. I grew more and more strategic over time, but if I had started that strategy right from the beginning, perhaps my network would have been serving me even better from the start. But networking, of course, is key, and that's what NSA is all about, and it will serve you in that capacity. But get strategic from the start. How is this network going to work for you, and how are you giving value to that network? Right? If you're working for it, it's going to work for you double time, right? So how are you delivering value to your folks as well?
That's such an important thing to remember as we move into Influence 2026. What's your favorite part of Influence? Aside from being on the main stage and eating the chicken.
Stop it. It's the people.
Of course it is.
Because usually, I'm on the road a lot, and I usually see my people just, in the media, on social media, and I see it in my phone and on my laptop. So when I see it in the flesh, it's so nice. All the hugs.
Yeah.
I'm so looking forward to that. So looking forward to that. Yeah.
Well, we are so excited to see you in Austin and what magic you bring and helping us again bring that value to our clients. Thank you so much for your time today and we'll see you in Austin.
Of course, it's an honor. Thank you so much. I can't wait.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Speakernomics. If you want more bookings, credibility, and connections, your NSA community is waiting for you. Join NSA today. Click the link below and follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and download this podcast wherever you listen.